Hello and welcome, beautiful people. Thank you for joining me on this next episode of Talking Shit with Heather. Today, our special guest is a nurse practitioner, Sarah Anderson, and the name of her talk is going to be on brain health and stress. And if any of you have been listening to the podcast, you know this is a subject that's right up my alley, especially this month. Well, we're talking now in May, but this probably won't get aired till June. And in May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. And there's a ton of mental health stress issues around Lyme stuff. So anytime I can help bring, something from the darkness into the light, that's when things get healed. That's part of the reason why the podcast is called Talking Shit. So it's kind of a tongue in cheek. There's twofold. There's what is your shit storm? What is your shit story? Right, that got you into this line of work, that gets us up every day, and what's our passion? Because again, we don't heal by keeping things into the dark. We have to bring it into the light. We have to bring awareness around it and talk about it. So let's talk some shit. And then the other way is, like one of my last clients, or one of the last people I had on the podcast was actually a coffee enema and hydrocolonic therapist. So we literally talk about shit sometimes as well. Parasites, bacteria, yeast, gut dysbiosis, coffee enemas. They're all sometimes the name of the game when it comes to healing on a different level. So I'm not sure how much of that shit we'll talk about today, but I'm welcome if you're open to it. I'm Heather Gray with Discovering Health. I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And after having Lyme disease for 27 years, undiagnosed Hashimoto's, endometriosis, celiac disease, 2 stints to the psych ward for suicide attempts. That is why I do what I do. And that is, part of my shit story in a small little nugget. Right now for this month, I'm running my program. It's a Discovering Hope, a 90-day guided health transformation. Find your focus, address embarrassing gut issues, and get out of chronic pain in 90 days or less. So don't hesitate to hit me up to learn a little bit more about that. But let's get on with our guest and learn about all the cool shit stuff she's talking about. So Sarah Anderson, welcome. Woohoo!
Yay, thank you so much. So happy to be here.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little background, with your business, who it is that you like to work with, and then of course your shit story, right? What brought you here? What lights you up the most? What keeps you going?
Yeah, so I have been a nurse practitioner for about 10 years and a nurse for about 10 years before that. So been in this healthcare game for quite a while. And for anybody who's been in it a while, we've seen all the changes that have gone on. And at some point between my career life and my family life, I reached burnout a couple years ago. And through that process, I have learned about stress a lot, as well as brain health a lot, because I was suffering from pretty severe brain fog, to the level of I felt like I was 90 years old at some times. And so in discovering functional medicine, I have been able to reverse my burnout, heal my brain, rebalance my hormones, finally lose weight, something that I've struggled with my whole life as well. And so I am taking all of this knowledge from conventional medicine and everything I've learned in functional medicine, as well as helping heal myself and wanting to share it with other people. So last year I created a company called Peak Integrative Wellness, and we really focus on helping women get out of that survival mode and into thriving mode. And so we work on stress management, we work on optimizing hormone balance and boosting your brain health so you can really feel your best and be your best and finally have everything.
Yeah, we all know we can't learn when we're in fight or flight. I mean, we can't heal when we're in fight or flight. We can't heal when the tiger's still chasing us. We got to get our nervous system chilled out. So, but go back to the, you felt like you were 90 years old, the type of brain fog, like what else was kind of going on in your life at that time? And how did that affect your day-to-day life? Like, what was it keeping you from doing?
Yeah, so on a personal level, I was working as a nurse practitioner in the hospital. So that was very intensive. I work in cardiology, or have worked in cardiology. So I'm dealing with very sick individuals in that role. And then my oldest daughter, we found out about 2, 3 years ago that she has autism, as well as pretty severe ADHD. And then actually the kind of crux point of everything was the year I was pregnant with my my third daughter. I had a 1.5-year-old at a time, and we were trying to figure out what was going on with my oldest daughter, who was tantruming for 45 minutes to 60 minutes at a time and couldn't get out anywhere. The middle daughter, she was developmentally delayed and was not talking and doing all those things. And then, of course, I was pregnant. And God bless hormones, because it just made everything that much worse. So shortly after that was when I started hitting burnout, trying to balance all the things, trying to stay healthy, trying to eat well, trying to do well at my job, trying to be a mom, trying to figure out what was going on with my kids and help them the best I could. And it wasn't working anymore. Yeah, it was a pretty low point in my life.
It sounds like it. I mean, just motherhood itself, with toddlers, holy cow. And then to have those health issues, your kids' health issues, and your job on top of it, like burnout. I'm surprised you didn't end up in the psych ward. I mean, so how did you overcome a lot of this?
So fortunately, we were able to, I've worked with psychologists and therapists off and on, mostly with my daughter, with her autism and ADHD, and trying to understand that. But we were very blessed. We found a autism therapist that came and worked with our whole family. And he really helped to unspiral the stress cycle that our family was in, as well as finally give parenting strategies that worked to me and my husband. Because I don't know if you have a child who has autism or know anybody who does, but all the typical parenting books don't work. And I can tell you that firsthand, because I feel like I have read them all and I have tried them all, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Her brain is wired different. It's not bad, it's just different. And so it was a matter of finding the ways that worked for her, to understand her world, and finally get us all on the same page when we started to unravel the stress. I learned how to speak up in our family about the things that were stressing me out. Laundry was a huge one of those. It never ends. And so my husband is amazing. He took on doing the laundry, and that, just little things like that. We started taking turns going to the grocery store and meal planning for the week. We started having parent code words about when we're like tapping out because we can't deal with one more tantrum. And, so we found ways to kind of help each other out and get through that piece. And then after we were able to unwind a little bit with my daughter and figure out how to get things more copacetic in the family, I was able to bring down my stress level and start to work on that individually.
What a blessing your husband is. I mean, what a game changer. Like when I went through my first Lyme treatment, I had an ex-husband who wasn't very supportive, and I was still kind of expected to keep up the house and the work and go through treatment. My new husband, on the other hand, as I went through another health crisis about a year ago, I finally stood up for myself. I was like, look, if I'm going to work full time, I'm going to help raise your son, blah, blah, blah. Like this whole thing, like, it needs to be, I need your help with the house. I need your help with groceries. I need your help with, and he totally, and it's more of a partnership, right? And how amazing is that to have that? And but a lot of times as women, we don't even know that we can ask for that, right? Because that's not what we were taught or shown, right? So
it's
to open up, it was like, and at first he kind of was like, interesting proposition, but yeah, sure, I can help out.
Well, and not only as women, but like being a healthcare provider, we're used to having all the answers and helping everybody else. And so it's very difficult to ask for help. At least it was for me. And I think for a lot of women, my friends as well, they struggle with that. Like, is it okay for me to say, I'm tapping out, I need a break, I'm going for a nap, you take care of the kids for an hour? That was very difficult. Now it's a lot easier with practice, and it wasn't always easy with me and my husband either
Right.
during these times figuring things out, but we were able to work through that, fortunately. Yeah.
How
It makes,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
So then how is your practice kind of set up now? What kind of, how do you work with folks, and like, what kind of folks do you like to work with?
So my dream client is somebody, somebody like me who I was living in survival mode for so long. I laugh because among the many therapy appointments we had with my daughter, trying to figure out how to parent her, I remember this one therapist, she was like, listen, it is not the end of the world if your kids eat Cheez-Its for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At that point, my husband was traveling a lot, so I was home alone with the kids a lot. And she's like, it's not the end of the world. Just if they want Cheez-Its and you're not up for the fight, just let them eat Cheez-Its for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And somehow along the way, that got stuck in my brain. Like, it's okay, just we have to do what we have to do to get through. But at some point, you have to end that cycle.
Okay.
And
Thank
so,
God, I didn't know where you were going with that. My
yeah.
brain was going to explode.
Yeah, yeah. But at some point, you have to end that cycle and you have to get out of survival mode. And I didn't know how.
Mm.
I didn't know how. You're at the bottom. You feel so overwhelmed, so frustrated. You're trying to balance everything: life, career, business, kids, family, your social, emotional, spiritual well being. And you just feel so overwhelmed, you don't know which way to turn. And so I want to be able to help other women through that, because there is a way out, and it's not as hard as you think. um, and I want to be that support person for people. Functional medicine helped me heal my body as well as other people, and I know it can work. And so by balancing the body and the hormones, it helps get out of that stress so much easier. So I work with people virtually, so anywhere all over the country. If we work on your time. And we do in-depth functional medicine lab testing to help understand what's going on biochemically with your body, and balance that out, as well as work on all this stress and mental health and resiliency pieces.
Yes, that I would love to learn a little bit more. So how do you work with the stress and the resiliency pieces? Are you like somatic experience trained, or like what kind of tools are in your toolbox that you work with folks?
Yeah, so there are so many ways to handle and beat stress. And honestly, the first thing is understanding that stress is not bad. Stress is necessary. I posted on Instagram a while ago about, is stress necessary or is stress a necessary evil? And it was interesting the responses I got. Most people felt that it was a necessary evil. But in reality, stress is really necessary. It's a certain level of stress is needed for your body to function, keep you out of danger, and to motivate you to do things. And once we can understand that and we can learn how our body responds in stress, we can harness that power and actually use it to become more productive, more efficient, and not have it feel that overwhelming control over our lives. There's lots of different ways to do that, and it's different for everybody. And so everybody's lifestyle is different. For me, I don't have an hour to go do a yoga class every single week or every single day. I would love to be able to do that, but that's just not my life. I'm go, go, go. I work, I have very busy kids. I needed to find ways that fit in with my daily routine. And so I was able to do that. Mindfulness is now a huge part of my daily life and practice. For example, in the morning before I get out of bed, I take 2 minutes and I become aware of what my body is doing at that particular moment. And then I have check-in points throughout the day where I just stop whatever I'm doing and I check in with what my body is and kind of reset. Breathing exercises are also great to incorporate throughout the day, and there's lots of different ones that you can do. If you're up for yoga every day or every other day or whatever, that's awesome. That's amazing. That just didn't work for me.
What are some of your favorite breathing exercises, and can you take us through one?
Yeah, absolutely. So box breathing is probably the one that I started with, and it's the easiest. I explain this to my clients and patients like, think of a box. It has four sides: top, side, bottom, side. So you want to breathe in for four counts, hold your breath for four counts, breathe out for four counts, and then hold your breath for four counts. And when I do this, I try to time it with my heartbeat so that I am kind of syncing everything together. And so I teach this as a beginning way. You can do this anywhere, anytime. So if you're starting to feel anxious or stressed at work, or if you're sitting at a red light, or even in the shower, just feeling the water pour down over you, and then do a box breathing exercise and do this for a minute or two, you're going to be amazed at how much calmer you feel afterwards and how much more centered you feel.
That's awesome. How many of you out there have ever done any breathing exercises? Say me in the chat, or, raise your hand, but it is a total game changer. I was on this 10-day Dare to Prosper challenge thingy, and every day we started off with some breathing exercises, and I still am shocked at the amount of stuff I moved through in that 10 days. Like, it was like better than like 3 years of therapy. I mean, just from the breathing exercises. And two, I was an ex-smoker, so when I was smoking, I actually I would breathe correctly when I would have a cigarette. And then when I quit, I stopped taking in those long inhales, I stopped taking in those pauses, and I stopped those long exhales, right? So it was a no wonder that I wasn't able to get out of fight or flight after I quit smoking. Not one, my addiction was gone. And then two, like I said, the breathing component to it's fascinating when we get back down to the basics, right?
It is.
Because that's the biggest issue I think we see in this modern world, is that we've gotten so far off track on what we eat, when we sleep, how we breathe, right? It's where when you get back to the basics, get back to the basics.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. Totally agree.
Awesome. So how does a typical session, or do you have like packages, or, how do you typically work with folks?
Yeah, so there's a variety of ways to work with me. We have the Peak Plus method, which is a 6-month program that's fairly intensive. We cover all the different things to optimize your health and wellness, and de-stress, rebalance the hormones, get your mental health back on track, get your energy boost, and then most importantly, get your brain functioning at optimal levels. And so it takes time. We all want a quick fix, and for things to like this, we're used to that. You get on your phone and we get to scroll and we get our answer right there. But it takes time for the body to heal. And so I really have found it takes several months to see these kinds of changes. For people who are in pretty good overall health, there's consultations with labs that we can do. But right now we're running a special. It's called Your Playbook for Health. And it's really actually very cool. It's a DNA test and a consultation with recommendations based on that. I don't know, have you done DNA testing before, Heather?
I've done some in the past with really crappy information on what to do with it.
Yes.
And so thank God through Mindshare, which is where we met, that DNA, I'm sorry, should I plug them, or is that who you're using? DNA?
Mhm.
No, you are? Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So after listening to him talk and learning more about the DNA company, and I mean, he explained it so beautifully. Like, a lot of the other companies, they're looking for SNPs and mutations and stuff like that. He's like, but sometimes people don't even have that component in your DNA to begin with, so they test completely differently, and they're looking completely differently. And supposedly the readout that you get is supposed to, I haven't done one yet. I'm actually waiting for my first client's results. So after that Mindshare weekend, I signed up with them, and I'm super, super excited to
Yeah.
see the first client's results. How long have you been doing them?
Just recently, I just learned about them a couple months. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So
Yeah, the reports are phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem. Even in traditional medicine, DNA testing is really hard. In cardiology, there are some genetic cardiac conditions, but there's so many different genes that we hardly even do it because it's kind of worthless in a way. If you don't have that gene, or even if you do, it says you're at risk. Whereas now we can put together patterns of different genes and SNPs, and we can get an overall picture of how your body functions. Are you a fast metabolizer of your hormones, or are you a slow metabolizer? And so you have trouble with detoxification of your body. And then we can find ways to boost those specific pathways to help boost your body's function, which is a total game changer. It's like literally getting the instruction manual for your body and saying, this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do. It's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, every new client coming in with my packages, that's now a required test on everybody, because absolutely, why on earth would you go into this without the freaking playbook?
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
Super exciting. That's great that you're promoting that out there, and that's what you're plugging for the month. So that is a great price, folks. Definitely hit her up for that, and we'll have her notes. How do people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, but also peakintegrativewellness.com. And then for the playbook, it's /playbook. But yeah, I'd love to help you out and work with people. And I'm really, I'm so glad about the work that you're doing about telling people stories, because I think sometimes, especially with mental health and things like that, depression, anxiety, brain fog, people are embarrassed to talk about these things. And it's so prevalent. Behind closed doors, people disclose things to their doctors and practitioners. So I hear it all. In fact, even in cardiology clinic, when I work there, the top 3 complaints that I hear from people that people are really struggling with: stress, brain fog, and fatigue. It's not heart stuff. Right. And I think that surprises a lot of people. But these are the things that people really struggle with, and I think are afraid to talk about. So I'm so thankful for you getting this out there and sharing that message.
Absolutely. I mean, I even have a client right now who's a therapist and dealing with some horrible brain fog. I'm pretty sure he's got some mold issues. And so I'm waiting for his labs to come back, but I think our next step is going to be detoxing him off of mold, but he's really struggling in his job right now. And he's afraid of being found out. He's afraid of looking like a fraud. Right. And I told him, I'm like, it's been my personal experience that best practices when it comes to this is to actually let the other person know what's going on in your life, because they could surprise you by showing up and making ways, to make life a little easier for you that you wouldn't know. Granted, there's the small percentage of just assholes out there who don't care,
True.
But that's life, and you've got to take that risk. And when it comes to advocating for yourself, you have to fucking advocate for yourself, right? Yes. Nobody else is going to do it. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Absolutely. And I think especially for providers and CEOs and entrepreneurs, like, we're all used to being at the top. People come to us for things. We don't go to people for that. And I definitely don't want to share that I have to write everything down, because the moment I leave your room, I'm going to forget,
Right? Oh my God. Yes. You should see the amount of sticky notes I have everywhere all the time. And that's what I told them. I'm like, I might look like I've got my shit together, but it's because I've found systems that work that keep me looking like I got my shit together, because I don't. 27 years of Lyme disease, mold, and, inflammation. I'm functioning at a level that I didn't even know was possible. And there's still, right, a little level of like a learning disability type thing going on, right? And I just, you just learn how to work with it. I was trying to teach him how to use alarms on his phone, so he didn't have to rely on his brain to get out the door on time, and sticky notes and reminders, and whatever it takes, right, to set you up for success. And thank you. I'm glad I circled back around when you were talking about, feeling like a 90-year-old. I'm like, I feel like there's something more there. And then you brought in your kids. Like, that's huge. That's a huge piece of your story. And how many mothers and working entrepreneurial mothers can relate. And then there's that guilt that comes along with that of, now we're not doing anything well. Everything seems to be dropping around us, and telling that shit story, right, of letting women know that a lot of us struggle. A lot of us feel that way. And a lot of us feel like, in some way, shape, or form when it comes to our kids, especially when they're sick. Like, I don't know about you, but I passed on celiac disease to my son, and he was diagnosed at the age of 2. And there was a ton of guilt that kind of, I had to work around with, I made my kid sick and, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, no, it's a trip.
Yeah, I've definitely had to work through that too with my girls. Like, what did I do? What did I do during my pregnancy that I shouldn't have done? And you can't change the clock. You can't go back.
Nope.
You can't. I'm not mad at my parents because they passed on, high cholesterol and high blood pressure. I am in control of my health, that I can make lifestyle changes to optimize those things. So, my girls, they can't be mad at me because I may have passed down some of that. I mean, we don't know where autism comes from, but
Right. And I love, so when you talk about genes, so many people too with DNA, they get wrapped up in, well, it's in my genetics. So it's no. I used to use an old analogy with guns and bullets, but I found a new one with the piano players, right? So
what's that?
Your DNA is the piano, right? But your lifestyle is the piano player, right? So it's just because it's in your genes, people just don't give lifestyle enough of credit, right? Just because it's in your genes doesn't mean it's going to express. Lifestyle has like 85% to do with that. So
yes, absolutely, it does. Absolutely. And I've seen this in clinical practice over and over and over again. Again, I know I keep coming back to cardiovascular, but I did this for a really long time. But I would get these patients who are 70 years old and upset because they had a heart attack and they've lived the perfect life, exercised, eaten vegan, had their cholesterol optimized, didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't do anything. And they're really, really upset. And they're like, well, I just have a really strong family history. My mom had a heart attack and died at 45. I'm like, but look at what you did with your genetics. Your lifestyle, you surpassed what the genetics otherwise could have done for you by doing all these things. Yeah, I agree.
So we've got just a few minutes left. What do you want to leave people with? What's like a burning thing that you really want to get across?
That you're in charge of your health. You have the power to make changes, to rise above what conventional medicine has taught us. And not all conventional medicine is bad, but that there is a different way. And you can have the knowledge and the insight to heal your body, to heal your mind, to overcome the stress and really thrive in life. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle every single day. We can work through that. We can get to the other side. There is another side. And if I'm not right for you, Heather, or there's many, many other people that are willing and want to help you. And so finding the right fit for you is the key thing. But most of all, you have the power and you can do it.
Can I get an amen?
Yay!
Yes, please. So if any of her story resonated with you, if any of my story resonated with you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Stop struggling. Stop trying to go at this alone. Like, we're not meant to. Please ask for help and you'll be amazed at what doors open. So stay tuned, keep talking shit, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.